determine how much service they're going to put on the streets and where should buses go. This is going to be for the next 5 years. The last time this happened was 2017. We were part of that effort as well, so we had a lot of knowledge from the past and tried to include this in this process as well, but looking to the newer needs of the community if they were new. Some of the key goals that we look into throughout this process was increasing the amount of service provided locally and also like connecting the city to other cities. We wanted to make transit more relevant to the community's needs. And this is especially relevant because during COVID, throughout different communities, the travel patterns changed a lot. So people were making different trips or not traveling at all. We wanted to make sure and evaluate if this was true for Canby as well. And if that was true, just adapt the transit system to these new travel demands. But at the end of the day, this transit master plan, the main goal is to create a network that's useful for more people's trips. So how do we get there? So what we did first was just like analyzing the existing network, the existing routes. We presented this in May to the council, just like the main findings and what the market is for transit. Then we talked to the community as well and wanted to develop this 5-year vision just to give the roadmap for CAD on how to invest additional resources. We discovered that these resources for 5 years may be short for all the things that the city may need. So we look a little bit beyond that, 10 years. So this is going to be a little bit more optimistic, but we're trying to keep it in a way realistic of the things that are useful for the community's needs and what we heard from people and we found in our analysis. So what has happened? So we did an existing conditions report. This is basically evaluating the existing routes, how they perform today. We looked at the market. So we were looking at who's using the service today, where are more people wanting to travel to from. We also presented these results to the City Council in May. We had 3 phases of public engagement, just asking people about what are they expecting in this transit master plan, where do they want it to go, how can we make transit more useful for them. We did 3 phases of this. My colleague Brent is going to talk about this in more detail. We also put together the capital and policy recommendations memo, just as I mentioned, kind of like suggesting capital improvements and city code policy amendments that can facilitate transit in the city of Canby. And with all this information, we wrote a draft transit master plan, that TMP, I'm going to be calling TMP just for short. It's a draft still, so it's open for feedback, comments. We will include all of this and just provide the final transit master plan that Todd will put here for adoption in the future. But it's still open for public. We closed the last survey to the public, I think last week. We would show them an executive summary of the TMP and ask them if we got it right, what we heard and how we translated that into the TMP was correct or not. So let me talk very briefly about the existing routes. So this is a map of the routes in the city of Canby. The color of this map, of the lines in this map represent frequency, so how often a bus comes. The dark blue represents a bus coming every 30 minutes in the middle of the day, and the light blue is a bus coming once an hour. I'm going to be using these colors throughout the whole presentation, so just keep them in mind. So today, there are 2 main routes in the city of Canby. The city loop is a loop that goes in one direction and offers local service and connects the main destinations and activities in the city of Canby. We also have the 99X. This is the regional route. It connects the city of Canby with Oregon City and Woodburn. In the peak hour, it comes every 30 minutes, and during the middle of the day, every 60 minutes. There are also other routes that serve Canby that are provided by other agencies. They are shown here with this pink grayish color. It represents routes coming every 90 minutes. So they're not very useful. They don't come very often, but they are providing some sort of service. The first one is the 3X. It connects Wilsonville to Canby and is offered by SMART, the Wilsonville agency. The second route is the Molalla route that it connects the city of Canby to Molalla. The city of Canby also offers service, or the service in the city of Canby is also part of a regional network. You can think that it connects Canby residents to Portland, to Woodburn, Salem, Beaverton, Hillsborough, all over the region. You can go by bus. The only problem is that service is very infrequent, especially if you take in the middle of the day the 99X and you want to go to Portland, you have to make multiple transfers if you want to have like a relatively short trip, but still you have to make a lot of transfers. On the other way, you can go to Salem as well, but you have to connect to other routes. So there is a way to move around transit, but it's not very competitive with having a car or using a taxi. So other people may want to do this trip in transit, but it's not an option today. In this map, you can see that I'm also introducing a new color, the red color. This is a route that comes every 15 minutes. You can see that most of these routes are connecting Canby routes at Oregon City. So this kind of facilitates the transfer because a bus is coming every 15 minutes, but still not enough. So we will discuss more about this when I present the recommendations. So you have heard that I have been talking about frequency and how important it is for transit, but if you are not an avid rider, and I think I presented this to you before, but just to refresh it, if you're not an avid rider, I have like a metaphor just to understand how important this is when you're using a bus. So you can imagine a gate at the end of your driveway that only opens once an hour. So just think about just going to work. You have to know when this gate is going to open if you want to be on time. If the gate only opens once an hour, you cannot make spontaneous trips. You just have to be there when it opens. If you miss the time when it's open, you have to wait for an hour for the next time to open and go to your destination. And this is basically how transit works. If you have an infrequent route, infrequent in the field, we think about this about a bus that comes once an hour or more than once an hour. It's just very hard to depend on like a system like that. People won't use it as their main option. They will have to plan their life around the bus, and they won't. They would rather find other options to move around. So some of the local routes or regional routes today don't offer very frequent service. So people are finding other options to make these trips that they would rather do in transit. And frequency is very important. When you have a frequent bus, a bus that comes every 30 minutes, every 15 minutes, you are getting three benefits. The first one is reduced waiting time. So as I mentioned, you don't have to wait for the bus a long time. You can just show up at the bus stop, and you know that a bus is going to be there very soon. Another benefit is easier connections. So if you transfer from one bus to another that's very frequent, you know that that bus is going to happen very soon. That's going to come very soon. If you're connecting to an infrequent bus, you will just wait there for an hour or 40 minutes until the next one comes, and you don't have anything else to do. And the other major benefit is that if you're waiting for a frequent route for the next bus and that bus breaks, you know that there's another bus coming soon. So it won't impact your day or your trip. You can just have more flexibility. But if you have an infrequent route, if the bus breaks, that will definitely disrupt your day, and you may have to find another option to go to your destination. So in general, also like frequent routes are more useful for people. So it's cheaper and more effective for the agency like CAT to operate because they will have the benefit of more riders, especially in the regional routes where there is a fare for people to use it. So now I'm going to have my colleague Brenda talk about the community engagement, the three phases, and what we have been hearing from the public.
Thank you, Alvaro. I am not allowed to turn my camera on. It says that the host has stopped it. I can present without my camera, but it might be nice for you all to see me.
We're working on that now, Brenda.
Thank you.
Choice code.
Yeah.
Okay, Brenda, we couldn't figure it out, but you can continue the presentation.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'll just continue as the voice from around you all. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Brenda Martin. I am at Enviro Issues, and we've been leading the public engagement for the Transit Master Plan. As you can see here, this was our schedule and plan for the engagement that we wanted to conduct during the planning effort. We did already present back in May on our first community survey, as well as the stakeholder workshop that we attended. So I will be speaking to the other tools that we use these last two phases. So during spring and summer of this year, we did conduct some stakeholder interviews. We wanted to really focus on speaking to some of the community-based organizations in Canby to learn more about what their community's needs were around transportation. We asked them specifically about their top priorities for transit, what could make the TMP more successful for their communities, and then what CAT was already doing well. We spoke to representatives from Hope Village, the Canby School District, and the Canby Adult Center. We heard really great news kind of on how we could better serve different communities, anything from having better benches and shelters to providing service to Wilsonville and more frequent service around the loop. Next slide, please.
Can you?
To click on the slide because it's out of focus.
Okay.
One more back, I'm sorry. Great. So then we conducted our second online survey in the month of June. This was when we had some recommendations to show community members. And so we really wanted to know where the draft plan was better than the existing network. So, what were the changes that the community liked, what their priorities were of the draft plan and the draft recommendations, what they wanted to see prioritized and implemented first. So what services they preferred, and then any additional changes they wanted to see. The survey was open for about a month from June 6th to July 8th. We did get really good turnout, higher than the first survey that we conducted. We got 102 survey respondents, with 11 of those survey respondents submitting surveys in Spanish. And the survey was shared both online through the CAT website and social media, and then we did do some in-person events. And the results of the survey, which will be on the next slide, of the 102 respondents who took the survey, 96% of respondents were really strongly in favor of the draft plan. They actually liked it better than the existing network, so they did feel like it was serving their needs better. When asked to prioritize the improvements, they wanted to see an extension of the 99X to Milwaukee and downtown Woodburn, and then more service on the Canby Loop. And then when asked how we could improve service on the Canby Loop, most respondents recommended having it run in two directions versus the one direction, and they liked that compared to just having it more frequently run in one direction. So here you can kind of see a little more visual, the support that we got for the improvements for the Canby Loop and wanting that kind of two-way loop kind of at a higher frequency than just the frequency of the loop. And then the demographics continue to be really well diverse. We're getting a lot of respondents who are Latino or Hispanic, 30%. 20% of them spoke primarily Spanish at home. There was an even split between the age groups of representatives. Many of them also had similar income levels below $75,000 a year. 9% of respondents have a disability, and 65% of respondents do have a valid driver's license, but or a car available to use. So they are choosing to ride transit and take CAT. So during the summer, we also conducted some tabling events. As I mentioned, for the second survey that we conducted in June, we attended one of the first Thursday events on June 6th, and we also went to the Bridging Cultures Saturday in the Park event, which was a great way to get more diversity in our respondents, and we really promoted taking the survey, but also sharing information about the draft plan. And then you'll hear more about our third survey that was just conducted here in August and September. And we also attended the Canby Big Night Out on August 23rd and a second Bridging Cultures Saturday in the Park event on August 24th. So this third survey we just conducted, it just closed last week, was really to share the draft TMP. So we wanted to get the priorities of the proposed service changes that were included in the plan, how people overall felt about the transit master plan, and then how the proposed changes might affect the way that they currently travel. The survey was open from August 23rd until just last week, September 27th. We did get a total of 103 survey respondents, so we didn't get any extra last week, but we did get a little bit more Spanish surveys. We got 16 this time. And we shared the surveys in similar ways to last time. We did the website, the CAT website, and social media accounts, as well as the 2 in-person events we went to. And then CAT staff, Heidi, really went far and beyond and did some paper surveys at the Canby Adult Center and the Bridging Culture event. So we heard really great support from the community on our third survey. Respondents were really in support of that 2-way loop and adding service to Wilsonville. The majority of respondents who felt that the TMP was headed in the right direction, and we'd love to see that half of the respondents said that they were more likely to ride transit more often now that they saw these improvements coming to CAT. Of course, we did ask them what they felt or if they had any concerns, and we did hear a little bit about the concern about how would we pay for these service expansions. Their fear was that could it lead to higher taxes. Additional service requests that we did also hear from many folks were longer hours for the loop in the evening, and then wanting some service to specifically the Woodburn Walmart. We also heard about the Wilsonville Costco. So obviously people are really trying to get to these key destinations. So this is another look at kind of what the priorities were for the community. They were able to choose up to 3, so this is going to add up to more than 100, but you can see there that the 2-way loop and then the additional service to Wilsonville were the 2 highest priorities, followed by more Saturday service, and then the Route 99X changes. But overall, they felt that the draft transit master plan was headed in the right direction. So you can hear that the majority of respondents were really in support of the TMP and the changes that are being proposed. And then here again to really hit home that people are really in support of these changes, not only kind of as a thought, but actually as a way to change their travel behavior, and they feel that they would ride transit more often with these proposed changes. And finally, some of the survey demographics on survey number 3. We did get 30% Hispanic Latino, 70% of respondents speaking Spanish at home. Continue to see that even split in age groups, as well as this time even split in income levels, and then 16% of respondents talked about having a disability, over 70% of them a physical or mobility issue, which is obviously something that we consider to be the community that is most transit dependent. And then last to share, we did do an open house last week on Thursday, September 26th. It was actually during the Transit Advisory Committee meeting where Alvaro and the team presented the proposed changes. The meeting was held on Zoom and really just focused on answering questions from the committee and making sure that they felt that the TMP was continuing to go in the right direction. And that is it for our engagement for this. As we move towards finalizing the transit master plan, we will be summarizing our third survey at the open house. And then, kind of finishing up our overall summary for the plan, but that is all we have planned.
Thank you, Brenda.
I have a question or maybe a comment, combined with a question. Uh, Would it be a good idea to actually hand out these surveys like on the bus? Sort of, that way you get the bus riders themselves? You did do that? Oh, good.
Yeah, so in,
Because I thought, if you on these events, Canby Night Out and stuff,
Yeah, they send people out on the buses.
yeah, in the phase one, survey one, we were asking people about like the community values and where they want the TMP to head to. We did go to buses and like rode the buses and I asked people to answer a few questions.
Okay, I'm glad you did that, because maybe you mentioned that, but I didn't see
In
it.
we did that for the last city council meeting.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. So.
Thank you, Alvar. Thank you.
Based on what we heard from the public and the analysis we did of like how the system works today and what the market is, here are the proposed routes that we put in the TMP. Before that, just very important, to make this reality, there are two key things that need to happen. First of all, as Todd was mentioning, the TMP is going to be a roadmap to get more state funding to fund these improvements. So state funding is very important to increase service. As part of this document, tool help us putting together a summary of grants and state funding sources that can apply to, just to fund some of these improvements. The second key item is some of these regional improvements are going to depend on the collaboration with other agencies, especially the agency in Wilsonville, SMART, and the agency in Woodburn. Both these conversations have started, and they're going very well because there is interest in these two communities also to improve the system and the connections to the City of Canby. So this is the map that shows the improvements we are proposing. I just want you to pay attention here to the colors. So again, the dark blue shows a route that comes every 30 minutes. Light blue is a route that comes every hour. So I'm gonna go back and forward with the existing network. So you can see just overall, just at glance, there is more service and more frequent service to the places where people are going today with other means, and also to the places we heard from the public they want to go there more often. So now let's dive into all of these improvements. First of all is the Canby loop. So today this is a loop that goes in one direction almost every 30 minutes in the middle of the day. The improvement, we're making this a consistent 30 minutes throughout the whole day, so you know that the bus is coming twice an hour anytime you want to use it. And the main thing is now it's coming in two directions. So we asked the public about how to improve this route, and they prefer to have it in two directions. This is very important because today, if you go from point A to B, it's going to be different when you go from B to A because the loop goes in two directions, right? So sometimes it takes you out of the way, but making it two directions, it just facilitates your trip and make it shorter. Next big improvement is the connection to Wilsonville. So today, as I mentioned, there is one bus that comes around every 90 minutes throughout the whole day between the two cities. It's offered by SMART. This is a very important connection. We have found through our analysis that a lot of people are traveling here by other means, like driving or asking for a friend to take them there. We also found or heard from the public that this is a destination very important to them. They want to go to Wilsonville. In Wilsonville, they also can connect to other options. They can take smart buses to Tualatin, Tiger, or they can take the West Rail if they want to go north to Beaverton, for example. So there are a lot of transit connections happening there, but today the 3X is very frequent. So what we're proposing is CAT is going to offer an extra bus and collaboration with SMART to make this route comes every 30 minutes. So twice an hour, 2 buses an hour. And this is going to definitely improve these travel times. Then let's talk about the 99X. Let's talk about the piece from Canby to Woodburn. Today, the bus goes all the way to Weimar. Weimar is in the north of Woodburn, and it stops there and then returns. We're proposing to extend this all the way to downtown Woodburn. This is going to be more useful for people just because they will reach more activities, more destinations that are concentrated in downtown Woodburn. We also heard that people wanted to go to other main destinations like Walmart or the outlet mall. There are not enough resources to take the bus all the way there, or also no parking spaces just to lay over the bus there. But if we take the bus to downtown, people can have a shorter walk if they want to go there, and also they can connect to the Woodburn local circulators that can also take them all the way there in a shorter time. By going to downtown Woodburn, people can still connect to the Chariots route. This is the Salem route that connects Woodburn to Salem. So people won't be missing anything that they have today. Additionally, the Weimar stop is going to, the 99X won't serve directly the Weimar stop, but it will serve a stop that's very close, so like 5 minutes from the Weimar. We heard from the public that this stop is very important because it's located next to a medical facility. So we're still providing service there, a stop there, so people can still reach this location. And the last improvement we're proposing is the 99X to Oregon City and then to Milwaukee. So today the route stops at Oregon City, and as I mentioned, if people want to go further north to Milwaukee or even to Portland, they have to make transfers. This is kind of like a deterrent for people to use transit because it makes the trip very, very long, especially if you have infrequent routes. By extending the route all the way to Milwaukee, people can only take one bus all the way there and make a connection with the Orange Line or other Tri-Med routes, and then it will make their trips way shorter and take them to the places they want to go. As Brenda was mentioning, we presented these options to the public. They really like them, but we also wanted to know what should CAT do first. So the priorities were the loop, making it 2 directions, and the Wilsonville connection, so making it every 30 minutes. After that, we have the connection to downtown Woodburn and the connection all the way to Milwaukee when we have more resources.
I wanted to clarify, make sure I got it right. So you're going to still stop at Bimart, then go to Walmart? Correct?
So
Okay.
it won't stop directly at the same stop as today. It will stop in 99E, very close to the Weimar.
Okay.
So it will be a 5-minute walk, but it will take you to downtown Woodburn. Not all the way to Walmart, but to downtown Woodburn.
Okay.
There you can connect to other bus that can take
Yeah.
you there.
So right now, our bus stop is in the middle of a parking lot. There isn't
Yeah.
really a bus stop there.
Yeah.
There's no facilities there. So what we would do is we would move the stop to actually 99 the road, so people could still get off and still walk that
Okay,
distance.
yeah.
But that would allow us to continue down to a place where there's actual,
Gotcha.
some sort of facility and meeting directly with the other bus lines. Right now, they come to meet us in the parking lot.
Because I like the Bimart one. I love Bimart.
Is there a way to estimate how many people what the need is? In other words, how many people potentially might need that transportation from Woodburn or from Wilsonville or even Milwaukee? Has there been any projections?
So the tricky thing with projection is that we have to make a lot of assumptions about the land use and how it will look in the next 5-10 years.
Right.
So the analysis that we do is more about the usefulness of the service and how that relates to how many people will ride and jump into the bus. So when I'm talking about frequency, improving connections, and improving the transfer between buses, it has been proven that these 3 things with land use are kind of like increase the ridership of the route. So the more you improve the travel time between activities and where people are living, the more people will be using that bus. So I can show you at the end of the presentation some maps of how the travel times are improving between the major cities. And just by improving the travel time, more people will use the transit service, just because it will be the better option than using the car or asking for a friend or using the taxi.
Sure. I was thinking of like demographics of people that work in Canby, because I know there's some businesses here that have a huge amount of people that live in Woodburn but work in Canby. And I don't know if we've actually looked
So
at that.
we look at 2 things to respond to that specific question. We look at the existing boardings today. We looked at, there are a lot of trips that are coming from Woodburn to the City of Canby, so today the 99X goes all the way from Woodburn, it stops at Canby, but it continues to Oregon City. So we look at the ridership today, and we found out that most people were jumping off the bus in Canby, and they were not continuing to Oregon City. So it made sense to kind of like split the route in two, have the segment from Canby to Oregon City as one route, and have the segment from Canby to Woodburn as another route. So yeah, there's a lot of people that are traveling from Woodburn to Canby, but it doesn't get as close to the people who are traveling from Canby to Oregon City, or Oregon City to Canby.
Got it.
Like that's the strongest segment in the system.
Okay.
Then we also look at cell phone data, so where people are going to are coming from. This data just basically tracks just keeping the privacy of trips, but it tracks where people are going to. And we found that Wilsonville was a major destination today, and the transit system is not offering the service that it needs to comply with this demand.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, taking up too much time, but have you guys thought about a route between Canby and Clackamas Community College? Because I know that is an issue it was an issue for my children when they were coming from, because high school wasn't working out so much for them, so college was a better fit. But I know there's several people that, the route from Canby to Clackamas Community College is kind of complicated especially for the young, and my son was able to do it. He was taking the transport. He had to go to the Loop, then to the then the 99 route, and then you have to go to the Clackamas Community College. And I think it might be a good service for our youth to be able, or even people just want to go to
We
Clackamas Community
actually
College.
looked at that. The one problem is that extending the route all the way there will cost an extra bus, so it will be definitely more expensive. Like I think as twice of what we were planning. But the benefit of improving the frequency of the route is that when people are making the transfer in Oregon City, or if they want to go to other colleges, like in Clackamas itself or in Portland itself, just by improving the connection with the 99X with better frequency and Milwaukee, it will decrease the travel time. It's not directly there, but people can jump from one bus to another in less time. So we have 15 minutes, so I'm going to go a little bit faster here. I just want to show you how service changes throughout the day. So in the left side is a map of the routes at rush hour, and in the right side is a chart that shows how many people are closest stop that comes every 30 minutes, so the dark blue. So this is the existing network. You can see that 81% of residents are close to a 30-minute route in the peak hour. When we improve the service by adding the 3X, it moves a little bit more, like 85%. People have access to a route. This improvement is way better in the middle of the day, where you only have a 30-minute service with the Loop and then the 99X, the regional route. So you have fewer people close to service. When we make the improvements, now you have 85% of people closer to a bus stop. We'll go back and forward. In the evening, there is only one regional route, the 99X, connecting Canby to Oregon City, every once an hour, so very infrequent. We heard from the public that they want more evening service, and this is very feasible. So we are keeping the local Canby route in the evening. We're keeping the 30-minute to Milwaukee, or proposing, and we're proposing the service to Woodburn also once an hour, but in the evening. So this will dramatically increase the service offered at night. This will be a game changer just because people just going anywhere at night can return home, or people working in late shifts, they will have an option to come back home. Saturday, we heard Saturday they wanted also more service, so we increased the service in the 99X going to Milwaukee, so it increases the amount of people close to it. It's going back and forward. And then last thing, we heard people wanted Sunday service, but in the second survey, we told them that, or we kind of like, through a conversation through the survey, we explained that adding service in the Sunday is going to be more expensive because you just don't need one driver. You also need the staff just receiving calls in the dispatch center, maintenance, you need paratransit. So the cost increases exponentially. So Sunday service is very important because people do travel on Sundays, but this is something that we're recommending CAT to look in another time after they implement these recommendations that we have today. So now Adam from Tool is going to go over the capital and policy recommendations to make this TNP a reality.
Hi, thanks, Alvaro. Also, think I'm unable to turn on my video, but that's all right. I can just narrate from here. I'm a planner with tool design and flipping in for Baron Faulkner, who's the tool project manager. Unfortunately, couldn't be here tonight. So we looked at a variety of topics, and I only have a couple of minutes left in the hour, but go through a number of them. For the existing fleet today, Canby's fleet is slightly larger than comparable small transit agencies, and the average age of the vehicle is 7 years. Most in revenue service are either cutaway bus or a larger 35-foot bus shown here. There is also a 20-foot van. And generally, we've heard that the fleet size and the vehicle types meet the needs for the current service levels for both fixed route and dial ride, but there are some frequent repair needs and that require longer timelines to procure parts and to execute those repairs, so that requires additional vehicles utilized to swap in for those that are out of service, and some of those older vehicles have remained in the fleet to function as those backups when newer ones are taken out to be repaired. Next slide, please. So our key recommendations are we recommend Canby continuing to anticipate those repair needs and stockpiling difficult to procure parts where possible, and then gradually right-sizing the fleet as pending repair needs are addressed, but also carefully considering the fleet size reductions against necessary repair rotations, and a number of, also looked at kind of age of transit vehicles by their useful life date as estimated by ODOT. So one option that staff have been interested in is replacing some cutaway buses with Class E Ford Transit vans, which we also estimated here, which have lower upfront costs. But there are also some benefits in keeping those larger cutaways in the fleet. They have some lower cost per mile over their life. And these are generally very conservative estimates, also because they are estimated by the overall life of the vehicle, not necessarily the mileage. And also, we recommended Canby beginning to shift to electric vehicles, which might influence the types of vehicles in a future fleet. And there is a good jumping on point as the city is building a new transit facility, and so some existing guidance recommends that agencies procure vehicles and charging infrastructure that could be integrated into that facility where possible, and then also continuing to increase the kind of standardization of data monitoring through operator training to ensure that mileage and repair needs are being tracked consistently. Next slide, please. We also conducted a bus stop inventory of 75 stops in the system, both inside and outside the city's limits. So looking at stop amenities, like signage, benches, and shelters. Almost all stops had signage and poles for identifying the stop, but only 4% had benches and about 1/5 had shelters. And Canby generally has more flexibility for providing those bus stop amenities on the Canby Loop within the city versus the 99 exits generally along ODOT right-of-way, and requires additional coordination. And then the spacing for stops is generally good, though one of the recommendations might be providing closer stops in the downtown area where there is a higher density of destinations that people want to get to. And then our recommendations, we provide recommendations for most stops, depending on the conditions of the stop, but generally these fall into the key themes: the closer stop spacing downtown, providing more bus information on signs, so QR codes, stop IDs, and stop names to help riders identify where they are, what stop they're at, improving accessibility through concrete pads at stops, and then adjacent routes. Installing lighting, which could include solar-powered transit lights directly installed to the poles, and then enhancing crossings as riders reach or leave stops, both at unsignalized intersections through things like pedestrian refuge islands, or signalized intersections through things like better marked crosswalks or signal changes. We also reviewed the technologies that Canby currently uses. The core ones are Trio Fleet Pro, which is data management for tracking vehicle conditions and mileage. As mentioned before, that helps schedule maintenance. Passio is used for scheduling and service metrics like on-time performance. And historically it's had some issues, but many of these have been resolved recently. And then CTS, TripMaster, it's used for dial ride and paratransit requests and has generally been working well. Some of our recommendations are reviewing options for onboard displays, which could be coordinated through Passio. And also considering stop information signs that might use e-ink at stops, and then possibilities for upgraded fare solutions that might integrate with other agencies through either Passio or if there were options to replace it, we provide a number of other similar services. And then we also conducted a policy analysis or assessment for transit supportive infrastructure. So we really included looking at facilities that people might use as part of their transit trip, sidewalks, bus stops, nearby development, and the surrounding transportation infrastructure that affects bus service, such as curb management. So it covered a broad set of city codes, such as zoning regulations, and as well as the public works standards. And generally, and next slide. Generally, the recommended policies fell within two key areas. One was pedestrian safety and access, so expanding sidewalks and pathways for pedestrian access and circulation, improving how people get to and from bus stops, also promoting land use strategies such as parking minimums that are addressing policies involving parking minimums that create a more walkable urban environment that would also add nearby destinations and expand rider access, and then also ensuring that interactions between pedestrians and motorists in shared spaces near stops are safe for all users. And then secondly, the bus stop and transit operations side of this policy assessment recommended creating development practices to consider transit access and service for new site plans and land use design review, and then standardizing curb space for multimodal uses that kind of including the development of standards for designated curb zones, so transit, loading, ride-hailing areas, just to reduce those conflicts and kind of establish clear visibility. Yeah, sorry. And then I'll just say that the plan also includes guidance for setting bus stops, things at intersections, near pedestrian pathways, which also address a lot of the recommendations for the bus stop inventory.
Thank you, Alan.
Yep.
So, so this is what we have been doing and what's in the draft TMP right now, open for feedback. So we started this project winter of 2024, actually November 2023. We're like at the final stage of this project, wrapping up the document. So yeah, we are still hearing from feedback from the public. We closed the survey last week, but we will include any feedback we got from that survey into the final document, and also feedback from you, the Transit Committee Board as well, and then have the final document ready for adoption. Thank you.
Great. I really appreciate the presentation, and thank you to Jarrett Walker and Associates for putting this together and working on this so hard, and to staff as well. So Todd and your team, thank you, Heidi. It's an important component for sure as we grow as a community. So as we look at this, when we talk about extending, the Woodburn route would be an extension into their downtown than from where it is now. And then with Wilsonville, do we have costs yet associated with what that would look like?
We have rough costs for the Woodburn extension. It's actually a pretty simple extension. It only adds about 14 minutes to our trip. So I've talked to Salem Area Transit and have asked to put in an application for STIF funding to help fund the 99X and that extension. Whether or not they will give it to us is a completely different story, but we're asking for about $250,000 a year, which will help fund the exit, because right now we receive no funding for the southern piece, because it's outside of Clackamas County, outside of technically TriMet's region, so we're asking for some funding for that. That'll go before the Salem board, and they'll decide whether or not we get any of that. If not, then we will keep it as we can today, until funding gets challenging. And if we can, then we can make that extension. It's pretty easy extension for us to make. The funding on that piece is a little more challenging. Woodburn piece is, the Wilsonville piece is interesting. Wilsonville's very interested in that, but of course, funding is an issue for both of us. But Clackamas County has actually talked to us about, if you're really interested in this, we tend to get some extra funding from the STIF program that we don't necessarily have an allocation for. So let's talk about it. We haven't gotten that far, but Clackamas County is actually interested in helping us pay for an extension where we do half the trips to Woodburn, and Woodburn does Wilsonville, and Wilsonville does the other half, in order to facilitate that connection. So
Okay.
not anywhere really far on that right now. We're going through negotiations to TriMet for the next biennium, but that came from Clackamas County themselves.
Okay. What other, yes, Counselor Stearns.
I'm going to make just a couple, probably honorary comment here, but I apologize at the time, but I, as far as your surveys go, and I kind of mentioned the last transit meeting, it's sort of weird, at least from a technical, that you start dividing people according to color and whether they speak Spanish or not, because that kind of confuses me, because it kind of says, like, I don't need transit, but my wife does, because she's got a different color. And then maybe I do because I speak Spanish at home, and maybe my kids might need it too, because, well, they might be colored differently. And so I just think, I'm just wondering why it's really even relevant when you have confusing, we have to divide people up into what their particular skin
We don't really
colors.
have any say over that. It is required by law for us to.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe you can't do it. It's just a complaint.
I mean, definitely the surveys and all the public engagement is open to anybody in the public, but it's required by law that any improvements or any transportation change you do to your system, it can be service infrastructure, that you are not putting extra burdens on people of color or low-income people, or you are sharing the same benefits you are sharing to the whole community with these specific groups. And this is required by the Title VI law.
Okay, well, I guess you have to do what you have to do it. I don't blame you. It's just I get a feeling sometimes that it's confusing.
Counselor Patton.
Yeah, I think this, I just think it goes to the point that, when transit services like this are more readily available and easier for people to use, more people will use them. It's like when you go to a metropolitan area and those services are easy to use, like when I've gone to New York City, or when I've gone to Baltimore, or recently I was in Chicago and I was near the airport and I was able to just take the train in and take the train back to the hotel, and I didn't have to worry about getting a car or anything like that. So it's one of these things that it's like, you got to put the cart before the horse, and then every time the horse gets in front of the cart, you got to move the cart in front of the horse again. However that works, right? You're always playing catch up. You can always do more, but then it comes down to the funding, right? I mean, it would be great if we had the funding to do all this. That is going to be the piece that's going to be interesting to see how, I would love to see all of these changes implemented. The funding of them is going to be tricky. Yeah. And it'll be, I know Todd and your group are very good at slicing those pennies as much as you can, and so it's going to be interesting to see how well we do that to get all this.
I can tell you the pennies are getting very tight.
Oh, it's getting tinier.
We just lost about $80,000 worth of STIF funding for the next biennium, according to the state. Our payroll tax came in about $75,000 less than we anticipated. So, and then we haven't seen the effects yet of the Nike or the Intel layoffs that are coming at the end of this month. So it'll be interesting to see what the long-term projection is. I know like that Milwaukee piece, that is like pie in the sky. The math on that doesn't pencil for a long time.
Yeah.
We would change Oregon City to every 30 minutes long before we ever considered going beyond 30 minutes anywhere else, just because of the cost. It's a long haul and it's very expensive. These other two pieces are more reasonable. But the loop in the other direction, that's a $400,000 annually proposition. I don't have an additional $400,000. Love to do it, but right now, it's just not feasible, so.
No, and to Councilor Patton's point, I know that you and I are in those conversations a lot at the coordinating committee on, and we bite our tongue till it somewhat bleeds with a lot of those conversations on the funding and TriMet and all that good stuff. But, and I know that I've asked that question about service to the light rail piece from here, and it seems to me that our connection there in Oregon City is the best bet. And it's TriMet to smooth out that connection from there to light rail, if that's going to be something that's going to be a proposed service. So more to come on that.
That was a real challenge for Canby when TriMet stopped running their 33 downtown.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of our ridership dropped off, because that's now 3 transfers to get downtown. And folks didn't want to make those transfers. It used to be 2. You could get to the Oregon State Transit Center and make it all the way downtown.
Wow, okay. So what I heard from tonight was for the council to weigh the citizen asks of, one, being more service in Canby, so the two-way loop. The second piece is adding service to Wilsonville. Third was longer hours of the loop, is what I've heard as being a key piece for us. Fourth component is the connection to downtown Woodburn, and then fifth being to Milwaukee somewhere. But really looking at the first 3 being probably the most important pieces. Is there any other information that this group needs from the transit team and from the company we've brought in to help us with this to go back, take a look at, fine tune and bring back? Or are we good for them to finish it up and bring it to us for approval in 30 days, 45 days? Whenever, okay. Sooner than later.
Depends on how full you're.
How many meetings
Your
are left in the
schedule is
year?
the hardest to get.
Yeah. We're getting full for the year.
So I'm looking to you guys, head nods of saying, we're good, we got what we need, we're pleased with this plan. These are priorities that we want to meet.
Yep.
Okay.
No bus to Scottsville?
No bus to Scotts Mill, not right now.
Bullet train.
We're gonna wait
Get
for
a bullet
the
train to
hover.
Scotts Mills.
And it's a pretty straight shot, I mean, to be fair.
Yeah, hover cars, that'll get us there. So,
Get a
so I
zip
think
line.
you guys have your information that you need to continue to move forward from us.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm sure that, again, as you all know, this group likes to noodle, and I'm sure when the final product comes back, I'm sure we may have some additional questions, but hopefully this group will think about that prior to finalization. So, okay,
Thank you.
great, thank you, appreciate the work, Alvaro.
Thank you.
That will conclude our work session for the time being. We are going to take a quick break before we start our city council meeting, so we'll come back in 4 minutes.
Oh, my gosh.
So hurry.
Gotta hurry.
Good evening, Canby. Welcome to the October 2nd, 2024 City Council meeting. Excuse our technical difficulties. It was not on our end. It was the lovely world of Zoom. Please be angry at them, not at us or the tech team here. We've got Councilor Maldonado will be absent this evening, and then we have our city attorney, Mr. Doofman, on Zoom. So please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this wonderful community. Thank you for the leaders, the people that make this community what it is. Thank you for the beauty of our community and how it continues to be truly the garden spot here in the valley. And we just thank you so much for your blessings that you put on our city. Thank you. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sometimes you got to make it interesting. All right, next on our agenda is any new employee introductions. Not tonight. Fabulous. Next on the agenda is a presentation of the Canby Civic Engagement Academy. And Ms. Stickle, are you the fortunate one this evening to present that?
I am the fortunate one to
Perfect.
sit with you and present the Canby Civic Engagement Academy. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Jamie Stickle. I'm the Director of Economic Development and the Communications Specialist for the city. So tonight I have my communications hat on. I will be speaking about the Canby Civic Engagement Academy, which is an effort that I am tag teaming with Kevin Aguilar, who is our Human Resources Director. In February of 2024, when the City Council leadership team met to review the goals, we talked about enhancing engagement and communications that represent broad perspectives. And item 5.6 on the goals and objectives was to create a Canby Civic Engagement Academy. The inaugural academy will be held from January through June of 2025 on the second Thursday of each month. The academy will be held from 5:30 to 8 p.m. So the first half hour will feature dinner and an opportunity for people to network. And then the programming will begin promptly at 6. The goal of the academy is to offer residents an opportunity to gain insights into the daily operations of the city, engage with fellow community members, and explore avenues for participation in city boards and committees. You know, I know that we routinely hear from you all that we need more people to step up and volunteer, and so this is an avenue for people to become more engaged in that way. The leadership team will rotate presentations throughout the academy, showcasing the projects, programs, and events that they have going for each department. And staff is currently coordinating the sequence of those presentations and will be identifying complementary departments. So for instance, it would make sense for economic development and planning to present on the same night, just to make sure that we're having some complementary presentations. Furthermore, the Academy will give participants a behind-the-scenes look at the city facilities, including tours of the Library Civic Center, Public Works, and the Police Department. Registration will be required, and it will open in November and December. Interested parties will need to fill out a very short registration form, and we anticipate being able to accommodate 25 people. The marketing piece that you see in front of you will be translated into Spanish, and we will offer Spanish interpretation upon request. We feel that it's essential to integrate the feedback that we've heard through the Spanish Language Community Summit that was held on the 27th of August, and really make sure that our outreach is to our entire community. And we want to make sure that the Civic Engagement Academy is accessible to all of our residents from its very first offering. And in addition to being the Canby Civic Engagement Academy, this also helps to further Council Objective 5.3, which focuses on increasing diversity and citizen engagement in local government. So this is a project that I'm very excited to see come to fruition. We hear from people all the time where they don't quite understand how things work or what department does which. So to be able to take the curtain back and really show what our day-to-day operations look like, I think is going to be a tremendous opportunity for us to connect with the community. So I will open it up to questions.
Yes, Council President
I
Hensley.
don't really have a question. I just want to say bravo. Thank you for this. This is very much in line with something that we've been hearing very much recently from Councilor Stearns as a desire. And thank you for being on this. And this looks great. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anything, Councilor Stearns?
I just want to say thank you again for doing that. That's something that I think will be highly useful. One comment is that you might, on one of the nights, but maybe the police or just invite somebody from the fire department as well.
Yes,
Even
thank
if,
you.
even though not officially part of it.
Yes.
Well, he won't be there.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. We are hoping that actually that the last session would be Canby Fire, the school district, and Canby Utility, so that they could kind of give a look into their partnering agencies and how to be able to, especially if you think about Canby Fire, people always think you're the fire department, not the district. Canby Utility, they'll call Public Works and say, I have a problem with a power outage. So to be able to also kind of, make that determination between our outside agencies and what the city does. So that is part of the list and coming together. We're hoping that we can do that in that last session.
Thank you.
But thank you
I'd
for
like to
bringing
say
that up.
thank you for doing this. I think it's be great. And if you need any help with it, just let me know.
Thank you so much.
Councilor Sassy.
I have a question. So hopefully this happens. You say 25 people can come at a time. What if 50 people sign up?
We've talked through that. So the interesting thing about having Kevin Aguilar as part of the team working on this is he actually went through a similar academy in Milwaukee.
Okay.
And so by capping the number, it's the ability to be able to accommodate with size of, and also, having a smaller group then lends for people, we want people to engage with community members. And so it might be that we have to kind of cross that bridge when we come to it. My hope is that, we can get 25 people, and even Kevin had noted that when he went through this in Milwaukee, there it's called a leadership academy. So we decided not to use the word leadership because we didn't want people thinking they were going to come in and learn leadership skills. But that he said that they had, I think, about 25 people participate, and then some drop off. Making the commitment to 6 months worth of meetings isn't everybody's game. So if
Once
it's
you're registered, you're in for the 6 months.
yes,
Okay.
yes. So it's not a drop-in thing,
Yeah.
specifically because we will be giving dinner as part of it. So we'll need to be able to accommodate that. So I think that'll have to be across the bridge when we come to it. If let's say we don't have 50, but we have 30, knowing that some would drop off, I think that would probably be okay, and that our spaces would be able to accommodate that. But having that smaller cohort really helps to lend to community. And I think that's, while that might not be the main goal of this effort, I think that that's a really important aspect of it. And so I'm not quite sure, but we'll have to.
I think it's great. Communication is the key, though, to get it out. And
Yes.
people say, well, I heard about, but I didn't know where it was
Right.
at. So
Exactly.
And
exactly.
if it's an annual event, those who may be, the overflow people would be automatically registered for the next annual one.
And I also feel, with a first year anything, it's typically a lower participation rate, which is actually, a nice thing to be able to then allow Kevin and myself to really focus on what works, what doesn't work, what tours on which nights and how that is all sequenced. So it would be a great problem to have.
Yes.
And whether that means that we, offer another night or consider just expanding it, that I think we'll have to kind of determine as we see who signs up to participate and how many.
good, well done.
Thank you.
Council President Hensley.
I just wanted to add that I agree, keeping it to that 25, maybe 30 to start because some might drop off. That's a good number. You don't want to get it too big. I remember participating in the Ford Family Foundation leadership cohort. And that's, I think we were at about 20.
Yeah.
And it was a good group to network and get to know one another and work together as a team on different projects and things. So I think for a cohort to network and get to know one another a little bit and build that sense of community, you need to keep it a little smaller. So if we have to have more than one cohort go through, that's great. But yeah, I agree with keeping it smaller to start.
And the Ford Family Foundation project that had started before I came to Canby, but was still ongoing once I arrived. And it was one of those things where it was very clear that despite backgrounds, age,
We were a diverse group.
very diverse group that was very close and very set on the goal of building community, engaging in the community, and really taking a project to the next level. So
Yeah.
I have thought a lot about that in my time, but specifically with this project.
Yeah, it's a good model. Thank you.
Thank
Councilor
you.
Patton.
Yeah, I just again want to give kudos to Councilor Stearns for bringing this up as a priority when we did our goal setting, and to city staff for putting this together as quickly as you did. It's awesome, and congratulations. I'm looking forward to seeing the results.
Thank you. And the one piece that I realize is not in my presentation, and it doesn't say it up there, but it will, it's going to be free to participate. So it's not going to be a charge where you have to come in and something like that. It's not a registration for a fee, it's just a registration so that we can make sure that we know who is participating and how to accommodate them. But thank you all for your great feedback, and yes, sir.
You're not off the hook just yet.
Oh, I was trying to
I
just
know.
put a bow around it.
I know you were. So, again, thank you for this. This is going to be great. I really, at our last comprehensive plan meeting, we heard that there was a lot of comments about not understanding process, not understanding the jargon
Right.
that we were using, or even what was even being looked at in terms of understanding what we're trying to do here with the comprehensive plan. And so I think this can help tremendously. My two questions: ages.
We hope that they are adults,
Okay.
but sky's the limit from there.
Okay. And then will we have translators available?
Yes, we will. So that is one of the things that it says on their interpretation available upon request. With the registration form, it will say, probably some sort of, I need to have a Spanish translator on site. That way we can make sure that, again, that it's offered to all of our residents from the first go around. One of the things we heard at that community summit in August was that, that some of our Hispanic population was feeling like an afterthought. And they're certainly not, but if you know better, you can do better. And so one of the nice things was being able to take that information from attending that summit. I asked Eileen, are we able to offer this service? Well, we'll bring in an interpreter that brings the headpiece. And Eileen was like, this is important, absolutely. We heard from the community. So kudos to Eileen for being so responsive to the community and kind of allowing us that avenue to figure this out and to be able to provide services that give everybody the same experience the very first time it's offered.
Excellent. Now you're off the hook.
Great, thank you all so much.
Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate it.
Nice pretty bow. Thank you.
Yes.
Next on the agenda is opportunity for citizen input and community announcements. This is an opportunity for audience members to address City Council on non-agenda items. If you are attending in person, please fill out a wonderful yellow card, which is located on the podium back there behind Mr. Barry Johnson. Please fill that out, bring that over here to our city recorder, and she will make sure that we get it. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. If you can't be here in person but do have comments, you can do it virtually. Just let our city staff know by 4 o'clock on the day of the city council meeting. I have one card, and that is James Heckthorn with the president of the Canby Rebels. Come on up, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Already, we have just a few things to share with you folks.
Yeah, please do.
Sign for you can pass these out.
Take one, pass it down.
Take one down and pass it around.
Oh, is this the coupon book?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you get one? We'll see. There you go.
Oops. Nope, that's just a place. Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah. All right. So again, my name is James Heckathorn. I'm the president of the Canby Rebels. I've been the president for the last 2 years. But before that, I was doing the field work, coaching my daughter along with other girls here in town. We lived in Canby, and recently we had moved to Woodburn. So our address is Woodburn, but my heart's in Canby. So that's why I'm still involved with sports here. We have 4 kids that are in the district, still going to school. But my reason for being here tonight is really to kind of recap what we've done this last year, and to say thank you to you, Mr. Mayor, and the council members, and also the Park Advisory Board for the work that we have now received at Maple Street Park. Those 2 fields there, we just had 2 tournaments, or 2 fall tournaments on there. A lot of great feedback from the kids, the families that were commenting that they've been bringing their daughters here for many years, playing softball, growing up on these dirt fields. And now, what a gift to have turf to play on and be able to do the game they love in the rain. So thank you for that. So I wanted to share a couple things that we've been really excited about. First, I'd like to address this portion of the document. The images on there are what our plaques and trophies have been for the champions and the winners of the tournaments. You'll notice that they all say Maple Street Park, Canby, Oregon. And then you might also notice that there's a lot of businesses in town that are on there as well. So these are sponsors that we address that either they've supported our club and our team, the kids of Canby, and we wanted to give them some recognition as well. Or they were a member of the community at large and also supported kids. So you'll notice Frank Cutforth there. We had a memorial tournament for him. We had 9 tournaments this last year for 10 through our 16U groups. And each one of them were primarily at Maple Street Park, or we used the high school fields because it was going to be a rainy weekend, so we transitioned over there. So going forward, that will be something that we can be at Maple Street Park and host there and use the jewel of the city, and then use the high school as a secondary field to backfill if we have enough teams to do that. On the back side of that document is just a little map. This is just a visual representation of where the teams that come to Canby, that's where they're coming from, all over the Northwest. And we've also hosted teams from Honolulu, Hawaii, and Anchorage, Alaska over the years. So they're coming from all over. They're coming here to Canby to play. They don't really stay in Canby because there's not anywhere for them to stay, but they're staying in Woodburn, Wilsonville, Oregon City as well. But there are also some great Airbnb options that they're utilizing too here in town. And then lastly, I'd like to point out our little coupon book. We recognize the economic impact we have when we have our tournaments and bring families in. It's certainly, I know what it's like when we go play and I'm trying to feed my kids at the snack shack or grabbing lunch in between games or staying at a hotel, having team functions, those things. So we wanted to make sure that we're doing our part to keep people in town. Also to, again, recognize places in town that are great to eat, great to visit. So we put this together. Primarily, the work was done by Vanessa Zimmerman and then designed by Brittany Hopping of Busy Bees Design right here in Canby. So we recognize some restaurants that would give discounts directly or things that they could do for fun, hang out, go shopping, get some ice cream, maybe catch a movie or buy a book. So I wanted to share that with you guys to let you know that we are doing our part and we'd like to do more. You'll notice on the tournament flyer that on the bottom there, We have some ideas about doing Thursday night light series with league play, and then also doing a Canby Crush softball series. So, thank you.
No, James and Ava, thank you so much for coming in tonight and giving us an update. And I know was talking, I think it was with Mr. Johnson recently, just about just the ideas that you had, and we're really trying to implement to just kind of tie it back into the community and whatnot. And I'm glad you said a hotel, because I know that I felt Jim and even myself vibrate a little bit when we saw the backside and went, let's see, Alaska, Anchorage, Idaho. I think our economic development director will use that as a tool, so, because that's an important piece. So, no, I appreciate all that you're doing to promote Canby and get things out there, and we're glad that the fields have been done. We're looking forward to Thursday Night Lights. I heard that's will be coming up, so that'll be pretty,
sir. We're
that'll be
very
a lot of fun.
excited.
Perfect. Thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you.
All right, I have no other comments. Anyone online tonight? Nope. Okay, next on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda, which consists only of the limited on-premises OLCC application for Chipotle Mexican Grill located at 597 Southwest First Avenue.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion has been made by Council President Hensley, seconded by Councilor Patton, to approve the limited on-premises OLCC application for Chipotle Mexican Grill located at 597 Southwest First Avenue. And Council President Hensley, you have a question?
I was just curious if we're not having any minutes. I was just wondering if,
Oh, they'll be coming,
okay,
yeah.
all right. We've gotten months behind before, so I just wanted to nip it. So I just wanted to know. Perfect.
Not happening.
Okay, very well. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0. Next on our agenda this evening, so ordinances and resolutions. It's to consider ordinance number 1632, an ordinance authorizing the city administrator to amend the personal services contract with Kern McLeod Incorporated Consulting Engineers for design and construction phase engineering services for the extension of Walnut Street to Highway 99E, and first reading.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jay Nalzine, Public Works Director. Yeah, I'm here tonight to ask for you guys to amend the contract that was approved back in June of 22. And I'm here to explain to you real quick why the contract for the engineering services that we selected Kern McLeod through an RFP process have needed to be amended. So starting off, this project has been long drawn out. I think back in 22, the mayor asked if it could be done in a year, and I told him no. Here we are in 24, going on to 25, and I think we're getting closer to being able to achieve that goal of being done in a year. So basically.
So wait, hang on.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Yes.
Yes, for the record.
So the year time window is moving? Is
It's
that-
moving, yes.
Okay, I just want to make
Yeah.
sure that when I say a year, like it's a year out and, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm excited that we're getting closer. I'm actually excited to where we're at. And I kind of brought it up in the couple council meetings ago about when we finally got the IGA for the signal, the entrance into, for MoDOT into 99E. So they actually were pretty good. They let us they started working on that before we had the IGA. So that sped it up. So
Good.
anyways, this amendment, what happened, why we ended up requesting, we were actually on budget with engineering for once, which was nice, but what happened is we didn't realize in the scope of work for ODOT that we needed to design them a roundabout before they would approve the signal.
Okay.
And which is good business, treating us like developers, get their work done from us. So we had to do that. And then the timing worked out with Canby Utility. As we all know, they're trying to do a treatment plant in the future here. And so we got caught with the last minute. Originally, we were just going to do like an 8-inch water main, try to figure out how to loop it. But this actually worked out and helped with that future water treatment facility that's going to go in somewhere over by Public Works. So we had to change it, adjust it, put an 18-inch water main, design an 18-inch. And if you're all familiar where the project comes out over there by Jarbo's Grill, only way we could figure out how to loop it is to actually dig under the highway, bore under the railroad tracks between houses and come out in Willow Creek. So it took some time. And I was scared when I was going to see what the amendment was on engineering, and I'm pretty happy with what Karen McLeod's came up with this.
Yeah.
So, so anyways, we get this amendment done. They're getting close to running out of money to continue. So we do the 2 readings, 30 days, we'll be able to continue with this project on track. And so with that being said, we keep the engineering going on. When are we going to get this thing out to bid? We've sent several emails out lately to ODOT, our engineer has, and we're hoping to hear back in like 3 months. So once we get that approval, engineering will be done when this is approved, and we get this thing out to bid.
And it'll be a year from that point then?
Yeah. Once we get out to bid, I think we could meet that, depending on if there's any surprises, unless we want to maybe build a hotel or something. I don't know. Just saying, that could extend it a little. But other than that, we should be on track.
Now you're trying to put
If
Jim
we had to
Ryan.
extend it for a hotel, I will acquiesce to the.
There's a lot of information in this packet. If any of you have any questions, let Eileen know. I can get back to you on this stuff. But you can go through it. It's pretty, lot of information on what engineering is doing right now.
Yeah, that question came up about water lines and sewer, et cetera, from a citizen. And so I was driving out there today going, I didn't know. Obviously now, I mean, with this tonight, had better information to share with them. But yeah, the whole idea of boring underneath 99 and the railroad and through some houses is never an appealing add-on to a project. So hopefully, with ODOT's help and opening up the ground, that'll help with some of that.
Yeah, the challenge that we faced that was really struggling with is we thought we were going to have to move a pump station, the Hazeldale pump station, because there's a creek on each side of this. And the Public Works crew came up with the idea of going between the houses for sewer and water, which saved having to do that. So that saved us a lot of money. So anyways.
Councilor Patton.
So the roundabout, we
Yes.
engineered a roundabout on 99E, but is it going to go in as a roundabout, or is it going to go in as a light?
A traffic signal with 2 turn lanes.
But then it would have the potential, if someday, it becoming a roundabout.
Yep,
Okay.
and they got the design work done for them.
By us.
We need to start doing more of that, I think.
Yes.
Get our design work done with.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I was tracking it
Yes,
properly in my head.
and in this summary, it kind of explains it a little more, and if you have any questions, Jason, let us know. But yes, we designed the potential roundabout there for the future.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Jerry? Jerry, thank you.
Ready for a motion?
I was just going to say, Jerry, thank you. I really
Yeah.
do appreciate, I know I've been somewhat difficult on this, but I really do appreciate the hard work that you and your team have been doing on this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, you ready for a motion?
I am ready for a motion.
Thank you. I move to approve ordinance 1632, authorizing the city administrator to amend the personnel services agreement with Kern McLeod, Inc., consulting engineers in the amount of $164,000 for design and construction phase engineering services for the extension of the Walnut Street Highway 99 for a second reading on October 23rd, 2024.
1 second.
Motion made by Councilor Davis, second by Council President Hensley, to approve ordinance 1632, an ordinance authorizing the city administrator to amend the personal services contract with Curran McLeod Incorporated, consulting engineers for design and construction phase engineering services for the extension of Walnut Street to Highway 99E for a second reading on October 23rd. Any further question or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 5-0. Next up is old business and city attorney recruitment, and that's actually going to be part of our executive session this evening. We had proposals come in from 4 firms, and so the council will be reviewing those here in exec session this evening. So that's the up to now, I guess, new news regarding that aspect. Is there anything else, Eileen?
Yes, Mayor, perhaps you received an email earlier today from David Doofman and regarding his resignation from the firm, so I didn't know if you wanted to David to say a few words about that, and then we can move on.
I did see that email, and I had to wipe away some tears from that, because David's been great to work with for, I mean, not in just this capacity for us, but as our land use attorney for so long. And I was going to put him on the spot at our next city council meeting, but we can put him on the spot now.
Oh, we can do it then too.
Probably will. So David, thank you for your service, and thank you for helping us the way that you have for so many years. And we do wish you all the best in your new endeavor. It sounds like it'll be pretty exciting.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. That's sweet of you. Yeah, you know, it's a really bittersweet thing, and it was an opportunity that came up, and I didn't think it was going to sort of blossom this quickly, or frankly that it would maybe ever get to this point. But it did, and I'm looking forward to it. So I really appreciate those kind words, and I've really enjoyed working, you know, with all of you. As I said in the email, I've done a lot of work in Canby over the years. It's a place that, you know, it's a special place for me. So this was a nice way to sort of cap off the work that I did at BEH. And but I'm not going anywhere. You know, I'll be around. And so, you know, I do hope that in one way or another, we all keep in touch.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Very much. Okay, anything else, Eileen, on that front?
No.
Okay. We'll move into mayor's business. I will try to keep it brief. So I had an opportunity, the new Canby School District Superintendent spoke at the Chamber Luncheon on Tuesday. She did a great job. If you've not had a chance to meet her yet, please do. She's a ton of energy, and I think she's definitely jumping in with both feet, so really glad to have her on board and doing that. Reminder for the city council that next Wednesday, we do have a work session starting at 7 o'clock with the Canby Parks Committee. We will not have a meeting, city council meeting on 10/16, so October 16th. There will be no city council meeting, so don't show up. Some of us are going to be at the League of Oregon Cities Conference, so we're postponing that meeting until October 23rd. So we will have one on the 23rd, Jerry, that you can be here for.
Yeah, it's your second reading. We made sure.
Also coming up here this Friday, Canby High School and their fall sports and youth sports will be doing a homecoming parade through downtown. They'll be starting over at Eccles and making their way through downtown, and then crossing over and finishing over at the high school. So we've got fire engines, floats, the dance team from the high school, and the cheer teams will be out there parading along. So it starts at 5:30. So come out and say hello and see the homecoming court. The Clackamas County Coordinating Committee meets tomorrow night, so I'll have more at the next meeting on that. Then on Monday, the Region 1 Area Commission on Transportation meets on Monday, this coming Monday, so I'll have more to report on that at our next meeting as well. Something for the Traffic Safety Commission, Council President Hensley. There was a recent accident at Maple and Territorial. We had a vehicle collision. It sounds like somebody ran the stop sign and collided with a oncoming truck along Territorial there.
Ran the stop on. Maple?
They ran it on Maple.
Okay.
So I just maybe after looking at it today, maybe conversation with, is it a moving of the stop sign closer in? Is it looking at cars being parked along that short stretch? We're not sure. I don't know the full details of the accident and the details of what may have caused that or whatnot, but I do know that there was I don't know if were there any injuries? Minor injuries, totaled car, so.
We meet next week. I'll bring it up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all that I have for right now. We'll start with counselor comments and liaison reports, and we'll start at the other end. Mr. Sassy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no reports, but I did forget on the library board, Marissa wanted me to thank Jerry in Public Works for the arrows in the alley because people were going.
She got the message, she sent us an idea.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that.
Yep, thank you. And that's all I have.
Great. Counselor Stearns?
Just a couple of things I'm just going to pass on. I told a citizen who had a complaint to me that I would pass on to the city council, and I'd also talked to Eileen about the issue of dogs without leashes in town. We're talking to her. Obviously, she's afraid for her dog, maybe has been attacked before, and the solution that is available right now, which is kind of call the police non-emergency line or something, and wait for the police to come, is kind of, by the time the police come, the person's not there anymore, because it's obviously for obvious reasons. And I just want to know if what is a good, or we can think about what is a good solution for that. And the thing that worries me as a counselor is I grew up in a very rural area, and in that very rural area, we had a solution for that. That's probably not acceptable for the city of Canby, but when people are pressed and very upset, as this person was, sometimes the temptation, if they can't find a adequate solution through the lawful means, the temptation is to use their own resources to solve the issue. And I think that as itself would be something we wouldn't want to see in Canby. And so I just I don't know what the solution could be, maybe have them take a picture with the camera or something and have the police visit them, or I don't know what, or fine, or, I mean, I guess there's a fine or something for that, or I don't know what that would be, solution would look like. It's something that I wanted to pass on as something that would be good to look at, so that people would know not only are dogs supposed to be on leashes, but if they're not on leashes, something might happen through the legal process system, not through the other ways of dealing with that problem could be. So that's the one thing I wanted to talk about. Second thing, from a citizen, was wondering if it's possible to maybe we talked about the simultaneous translation in Spanish for this meeting. Maybe the city council meetings could have simultaneous Spanish translation. In my mind, I think if another channel on YouTube, you could probably have somebody to do simultaneous translation there. That might make sense. Other thing that might make sense is after the meeting, maybe just the recording could have it, or even maybe a transcript. Right now, if you have a transcript of the meeting, you can hit Google Translation, and it will probably get 95% accurate. It does still have some funny results sometimes when they do the translation. So there's that, and also there was a citizen that asked me to talk about when Pine Street will be done, because their comment was, I've lived there 47 years, and they didn't think it's been redone in that time. So
Same time as the hotel.
Same time as the hotel, but I just wanted to pass those things on. But the one that kind of concerns me is the dog issue, because I've seen people get very emotional over dogs, and it can be an issue.
All right. Thank you, sir. Counselor Davis.
Okay, first of all, thank you, David, for your service to the city, and we'll miss you. Thank you to Bob Grady, for those that saw the Facebook posting of the sculptures on the bike trail.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he paid for that out of his own money and stuff, and it turned out very, very nicely. So if you haven't had a chance to see it, might visit it. It looks really, really good. Reminder of the Legacy Park ribbon cutting that will take place prior to our meeting on 10/9 at 5 p.m. at Legacy Park. Is that right, Jamie?
Yes.
Yep, and thank you, Jamie, for taking care of that. At the last Park and Rec Committee, we continue to receive issues about speeding bikes on the bike trail. And I know the city's working on that. Chief Tro's aware of it. But all we're asking is just good common sense, right? You see people walking and stuff, slow down a little bit. Whether it's e-bikes or whether it's regular pedal bikes, just slow down and be aware of walkers and kids. It's just common courtesy. So we just ask for your assistance on that, to just slow down on the bike trail a little bit. The Rebels, excellent tournament over at Maple Street Park. But one thing that's come out of that again is the traffic problem on Maple Street. There's no parking. And we got cars on both sides of the road. With the added sidewalk now, the width of the road isn't very wide. And so what's happening up there, I was up there actually at the softball tournament for a little bit, so I got to see it myself, but the parking lot was full. Maple Street was full, and people are now parking into the neighborhoods. The problem on Maple Street is when you pull out of the driveway on Maple Street with the cars parking on both sides, it's very difficult to see. And so why I was watching, there was a couple near misses just with cars pulling out of the parking lot. And so my recommendation, I met with Eileen, and my recommendation was that we look at what is the cost for asphalting where the house used to be. There on Maple Street, there used to be a house next to the parking area, and there's like 3 trees right there, and so, what would be the cost of actually asphalting that, and what are the impacts do we have to remove those trees? Can we work around those trees to increase the parking at Maple Street? And I know that that's come to the Park and Rec Committee as well. But I think we're going to be, unfortunately, the people that live on Maple are bearing the brunt of us putting in such a nice park there now and the amenities there. And so it's difficult for people living on Maple Street Park, on Maple Street as well. So I just asked the rest of the council, what your thoughts are on that, and whether or not we should ask Eileen to get a cost for what it would actually cost to asphalt that and increase the parking so that we can at least look at that going into next year's budget.
I've said for years that, I've told Jerry that for years, that needed to be a parking lot. Unfortunately, what did we talk about one time? Maybe 30 cars extra in there? Maple's still going to be full. When you have teams like that and you have 15 kids on a team, that's 30 plus both parents and cars and extra people, but that would help.
Yeah, I laid it out one time, right before Rick Robinson retired. He kind of was like going that direction because of the splash pad. And so we went out there and laid it out. And he's like, what would it take? And leave the trees and get some spots. And Councilor Sassey's right. They're depending on how far we go, how much of that we take. But I keep hearing about it, and it's been talked about a lot over the years at the Parks Advisory Committee and stuff. And I'm wondering, Councilor Davis, if that's something we should bring up, get a recommendation, get it on the CIP, and maybe really, we went out for RFQ, we have a new list of engineers, that'd be something, if we got some direction, got Eileen to give me the go-ahead to look into that, if we got the recommendation from the advisory committee maybe, because I know they're all on board with it.
Yeah,
But-
well, I'm just looking for input from the rest of the council on this, whether it's something that we should look at.
Well, I think I know, living in that area, when that was going on, I was going down Maple, and you can't, it turns into a one-way. You could not pass cars at all. I mean, you can't even go on it without pulling over. Somebody pulling over, it reminds me of Old Mountain Road or something, where somebody has to pull over to the side just to pass. And so definitely there's we comment in my car at the same time as they should prohibit or limit parking on Maple Street for that reason, because literally, there is no two-way traffic on it when that happens.
You'll also notice too, if you look at it closely, we put in we got it set up for a driveway approach into that off of Maple, or we could access it through the parking lot. We're set up both ways. It's set up to put a parking lot in the future.
I would think it would be a good
But
idea.
it is helpful to hear that, because, we've made it such a nice park. Now it's busy over there. And it's, Barry's brought it up with me so many times, like called on weekends, you need to come down here and look at this, how busy it is. And so it's definitely been brought to our attention many times.
So I'm going to unpack the issue.
Yep.
Because there's two. One is the parking piece.
Yep.
Which I think the Park Advisory Board should definitely dive in. That'd be my recommendation.
I
to
can
have
make
it
that to them.
go to the Park Advisory Board, have them take a look at that and what is that going to look like, what's it going to cost, and give us a recommendation. The other piece is maybe the Traffic Safety Committee can look at Maple Street, and is that a matter of making a no parking on one side of the street to prevent the one-way situation? Again, I don't know what that would look like, if that's even something that can be done or could be looked at, because that could be a really tough situation. But at the same time, then that doesn't alleviate the parking issue. It just, it exacerbates it even further. Question, Jerry. So on the, if I remember correctly, see if the park, you have that what would end up probably being a gravel parking lot for a while. And on the other side of that fenced property, is that still school district property? Because I thought that there was houses that, or property that was purchased for the Canby High School construction classes to learn how to build a house or houses.
There was stuff that went on back then, I remember when it was purchased, but we own everything inside the fenced area at Maple. Where the trees are, all the way over to Noble Court. Is it Noble that comes in there? That one, it dead ends in there.
Noble Street.
We own all of that.
Okay. I wasn't sure. Okay.
Yeah, there was something, they talked about that though, Mayor Hodson, the building or something. But
No, yeah, because again, I thought that the building class, it was like a multi-year project that went on for the high school construction class. Councilor Patton?
Yeah, it sounds to me like, I'm all for looking to see about paving the area and creating more parking. One thing I will say that it kind of hurts a little bit is with the ice storms and stuff that we've had, Canby has lost a lot of tree canopy. And, we are becoming, like when they do the studies about heat index, Canby continues to rise as far as the heat index for cities because of a loss of that. So losing more trees is a bummer. I guess for me, it would be if the Parks Board is looking at this, if I could add something to the list to think about is a longer term plan. Like, is it waiting, seeing about if there's a piece of property across the street or something that could eventually be earmarked, be on the radar to purchase to build parking over there? I love going pie in the sky. So is it, looking at maybe in a few years, putting in a parking garage over part of it or something. So there's actually 2 levels of parking, because even if you put 30 spaces in there, it's not going to necessarily fit the bill. Or is there some sort of thing where there's an agreement that people park down here and near the theater, and then there's a shuttle that takes them to the park or something, some other like multi-layer or creative ways of trying to split this.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So I have the direction that I need. Thank you, Councilor Davis, for bringing it up to the entire council. So.
Yeah, thank you. And then, let's see, I reported from our last meeting, so I won't duplicate that information. From the fire department, we are very fortunate to be fully staffed with our volunteer firefighters. We swore in 9 new firefighters, volunteer firefighters. And the interesting part is these are people such as attorney, airline pilot, long-haul trucker, retired, a physician assistant, that's now a volunteer firefighter. And of course, the people that want to become firefighters, intern firefighters and stuff like that. And we've got a whole packet of new volunteers that we're interviewing too. Good. So we're fully staffed. And that's the first time since 2014 that we've been fully staffed with volunteer firefighters. So we really appreciate their commitment. One emphasis that the fire department's making is trying to get more water tankers, or what we term as tenders, out. We now received a new tender on a state grant from the State Fire Marshal's office. So Canby's now in possession of that tender. So we'll have 3 water tankers coming out of the main station. And we actually have volunteer firefighters that actually drive those tankers for us. And so they will support the career crews when they go out on structure fires in the rural areas. Let's see, and they just completed a firefighter testing process. The Canby Adult Center, we had the monthly meeting. They're moving forward again with the conditional use permits that are necessary for the church facility. When I was up there last Monday, their refrigeration unit broke down on the weekend, so all the food that was in their freezer was thawing, so they were making a lot of cookies very quickly. And that ended up being about a $7,000 fix, and that's mainly because there's not a good ventilation system inside the building, and if it gets super heated up in that attic area, it causes the refrigerator to melt down. So I just had a few questions, and I talked to Eileen a little bit about this. I was just wondering about the status of the hotel. I don't know if you can include that in your report, or if we could get an update of that sometime. It doesn't have to be now.
Okay.
I just wondered the status of the hotel, and also the status, let's see. It was mentioned that there's a citizen complaint form that citizens are to fill out. Did we ever track down where those citizen complaint forms are going to, and if they're being responded to?
Yes, we did find out that they were not going anywhere. And so we have fixed that, and they will be going to me so that I can dole them out to the appropriate department. So,
Okay.
Oh, goodness. Oh, at least you found that.
Yeah.
at least we found it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And last council meeting, we had a complaint about a house that had the house fire for the last, and it's been sitting there for 2 years. And I just want to let you know that Chief Truro and I have been talking about that, and their enforcement officer, and I just wanted to get out to the people that the police department and the fire department, as well as enforcement, are working on that and continue to work on that and are doing our very best. It's just that some notifications are out of the country that have to be made. So that makes it international. So it just slows down the process. But we are working on it, and I just want to let people know that enforcement and the police department are working on that as quickly as they can.
And in addition to that, I was going to add that under my report, but in addition to that, we did reach out to the person who complained, gave him a status report as well.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. And then any status report on the athletic fields?
That was also going to be under my report. I did email Patrick today and asked him for a status report, but I haven't heard anything, but I did email him.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
You bet. Council President Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the ribbon cutting for the Neighborhood Health Center. They've moved over by Waite Park, so they have a nice facility, a 2-floor facility where they've combined the medical and dental together, so that's a nice resource for the community. I also went to the chamber luncheon where Jennifer Patterson, the new superintendent, spoke, but I also met with her last week on Friday just to introduce myself and get to know her a little bit as the district's liaison. We had a really great conversation, and we talked about the conundrum that we have with the dirt versus building ownerships and everything on that corner, and she was excited to participate in those conversations with us in the early stages. So whatever we are talking about possibly doing, she wants to be at the table, whether it's be just her or the board joint meetings, whatever. We just need to reach out to her, and she's more than happy to participate. And well, you already mentioned homecoming parade, but I wanted to reiterate the invitation for everybody to come participate, watch the kids on their parade, and come to the game at 7 p.m. kickoff against Woodburn for football on Friday night. Hopefully the rain will stave off just a little longer. And last night we had a street maintenance task force meeting. That conversation went really well. I think we're getting a lot closer to them coming to us with a recommendation. The next meeting will probably be in, we don't have a date yet, but I'm going to guess around 6 weeks-ish. And then they're talking about having a recommendation by the end of the year. You mentioned C4 is tomorrow, and our Traffic Safety Commission is next week. So that's all I have for liaison, but I do have a brief PSA. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, a time to raise awareness of the impact of domestic violence, which is experienced by more than 10 million people in the United States each year. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will experience physical violence by a partner at some point in their lifetime. It is important to know what resources are available if you or someone you know may need to escape. Of course, call 911 if you're in imminent danger, but there is local resources, a safe place on Warner Milnery in Oregon City, great resource. I have to say, I know from experience they're a great resource. And then we also have survivor support locally with Living Waters of Hope. It's a nonprofit available right here in Canby. And that is all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Councilor Patton.
So I too attended the chamber luncheon this week, and it was quite comical. Every time I go, I buy $5 worth of raffle tickets, which is 7 tickets. And I've been going now for pretty much 2 years. And I had won the raffle once in the past. And somehow at the last chamber luncheon, I won it like 5 times, which was pretty ridiculous. But one of the things, I did not take all of the things because I did not need all of the things. But one of the things that happened was there was a representative there from the Kiwanis Club. And they were talking about how construction on 99E, which I'm not complaining about because, oh my gosh, driving on 99E now is like, it's paradise. Anyways, they are like 40% down on sales because of that. And a majority of that money goes towards their food cards that they give to families in the community for the holidays. So one of the things that I happened to win was the 50-50 raffle. So I gave them that money, which ended up saving me paperwork because as a counselor, I would have to have claimed all that. So that helped them out and me. But I will say that, I know that times are tight. But if you have a chance to purchase something you've got something you need and you can maybe get it from the Kiwanis thrift store, please support them. Or if you're in there and just want to give them a donation to help out, I'm sure they would greatly appreciate it. Again, thank you, David, for all of your work as you step down and move on to the next chapter in your life, which is always exciting. And then to Counselor Stearns about Spanish translation for the meetings. When I was attending the school board meetings, when I was a liaison last year, whatever, they actually have like real-time translation that shows up on the screen as text, like as subtitles. And I don't know whether that is a like Dragon software or whatever, if it's a software that does that translation as it goes, or if there was somebody that was doing it as you go. But you know, maybe that is something that might help with the situation. So. I see people laughing over there. I don't know whether, no, over on this side. I don't know if they know what I'm talking about or what, so.
You know, the snickering was about maybe ironing out our technical problems first before we go to,
Well,
that's what that was about.
Sometimes,
No, I
you
know.
know, you add more and it just miraculously fixes it. I don't know. So, but yeah, so that was something that I remember.
The one thing I
seeing when
don't want to
would-
do is, where I've seen in some meetings I've been to, where they do English, then Spanish, the same thing over again, where it takes 3 times as long to say anything. And for those who are bilingual, you hear the same thing twice every single time.
Yeah.
So it should be something like where somebody has earphones, or a translator, if they're here present, the offer of earphones, or if that's not feasible economically, to have maybe a rebroadcast in Spanish or something to that effect. That might be something you could do a day or two later. But I've done a lot of situations with, and I've even tried doing simultaneous translation at times myself, but I'm not very good at it. Because I just think in one language or the other, it's hard to do both at the same time. But some people are skilled at it, and there are a lot of people that can do that. But that would be a service you could offer somebody, but you have to somebody who's a translator probably and be in that room and behind you that doing it, if that was something you had.
Okay. But yeah, so that was it for me.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Patton. Item 10 on the agenda is the city administrator business and staff reports.
So I have a few items to report on tonight. First of all, regarding the hotel, Jamie, if you would just come up and just give a quick status report on. You look like you were ready to discuss it, so.
We have 3 underway.
Pardon? Didn't you see the construction? No, the update is just that we've continued to do outreach to the companies that we've spoken with. I did have a very interesting conversation with a real estate broker last week, just about the nature of, be delicate with my words, the nature of development and how, you know, we're all very aware that the interest rate just changed and that signals a good sign on the the residential, but also for development. And so the one thing that they said, which is something that I hadn't heard recently, which was that one of the brokers that I met with said that the banks have started to touch base with them to say, hey, do you have any projects going on? And that signals a very good sign when the banks are ready to be lending and to be, because the piece that we are missing in Canby, it's not that we don't have enough industry or we don't have, you know, enough events or we don't have, you know, even enough residential demand of having families or friends come and visit, but it's the financial piece that we're really, you know, it's what we're waiting on. So I think that with the changes with interest rates and that we're hopefully going to see some of those hurdles lessen. So I think that's a good sign for development overall, but I think it's a very good sign specifically for hotel development. So that is my update.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
George, if you'll come up and discuss the EOP orientation and what you learned from the Dahlia owners at the tables downtown.
So last council meeting, we had the adoption of the emergency operation plan, and we are planning a training session that will last a couple hours, October 30th, which you will all get invites. We're inviting the directors, some key partners and stakeholders, and fire department to that training. It's basically a little bit more in-depth of what they did here. So they're gonna go, this is the EOP, this is how it works, this is what we're gonna do. And then the next step from that one is gonna be a tabletop and then a full exercise. So
Awesome.
look for that, it's coming.
Awesome, thank you.
And then, yeah, so just real quick, I talked to Councilor Stearns before the council meeting regarding bees. There was a complaint about some, of the sidewalk, some of their tables blocking. I talked to the owner, and I think they did, Councilor Stern also, but they addressed the problem, and I think it should be fixed by now. So, yeah,
I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah.
That-
Thanks, George.
yep.
Council recently had a discussion about a letter received from Dr. Perman. We have since replied to him, and we think that there is a different owner of the property, so we have notified him, and I haven't heard anything back from him on that.
Thank you for following up on that, I appreciate it.
And then there are ribbon cutting events and groundbreaking events coming up, and events coming up. So Canby Disposal Cleanup Event is on October 19th from 8 to 3. So I sent you that information out about there and just wanted the community to know about that. Legacy Park Fitness Court, the grand opening is next week at 5 p.m. So that was intentionally designed to be right before your joint meeting with the park board. So, and then OLCC, there is a quote ceremonial ribbon cutting for the OLCC building on December the 5th. I don't remember the time right now.
I didn't see a time in that email you sent.
Okay, I'll find out. It's in December, so there's time, but I'll let you know what that is. I think it's ceremonial because there's still work that needs to be done on the land use approval for that project. So I think that's why it's kind of a ceremonial groundbreaking, so.
Eileen, what was the date on the Canby Disposal Community?
October 19th
Thank you.
from 8 to 3. By appointment only.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Anything
That's all
else?
I have.
Okay, thank you. Second opportunity for citizen input. You do?
A couple of weeks ago.
Why don't you come, please?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. So I heard this rumor a couple of weeks ago, may have already been taken care of, but Councilor Davis, there was something about ice cream, and somebody owed somebody ice cream. And I'm not sure if it was taken care of yet, but do you know anything about that?
I do know about that, and no, it has not been taken care of.
All right, then.
So, here, hang on.
The ball's in your court.
Yes,
You're being held accountable by the citizenry now,
I
Mr.
know.
Mayor.
Thank you for that. Wow, okay.
That's all I have.
That's all you have? That's awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will connect with the fire district chief as to the best day to bring some Neapolitan ice cream to Canby Fire. Yeah, Neapolitan? Some Rocky Road? Yeah, vanilla. You guys get vanilla.
The little cups.
That was awesome. Yeah, the little Dixie cups with the wood spoon. Yeah, there you go.
Classic.
Thank you for that. Okay, that was good. Action review.
You approved the consent agenda and approved ordinance 1632 to a second reading on October 23rd, 2024.
Great, thank you.
That was it for all that time.
That was it. All right. So before, we obviously, I need a motion to send us into exec session, please.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to move to executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660, parent 2, parent A, to consider the employment of a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Motion has been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Patton to move into executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660, parent 2, parent A, to consider the employment of a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Canby, we are going to move into an executive session. Representatives of the news media and designated staff may attend the executive session. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject. If there's a decision to be made, we will adjourn out of the executive session and resume our city council meeting. Canby, good night. Thank you. We'll see you in
7 minutes.
3 weeks.